Well, organisers of Sydney's New Year's Eve fireworks say the $6.5 million display is going ahead despite calls for it to be cancelled. Sydney's skyline will still be lit up thanks to an exemption made by the RFS under a total fire ban. Joining me now live is the RFS Commissioner, Fitzsimmons. Commissioner, appreciate your time this morning. Do you support the City of Sydney's views that these fireworks will go ahead even in severe fire weather conditions?
Yes, good morning, Danica. What we'll be doing, we'll be getting the latest weather update this afternoon, which is particularly looking at what time does that southerly change start moving through the Greater Sydney region. And yesterday afternoon, the forecast I saw was it was expected to start coming through around 7 o'clock in the evening, right through Sydney by about 9. So conditions will certainly be easing a lot behind that front. Obviously, this is not a new thing. New Year's Eve and other events coincide with bad fire weather and total fire bans, and we do have provisions to provide exemptions for firework activities right across New South Wales. But each one of them is considered on a case-by-case basis, taking into consideration the local circumstances and the local risks. As I indicated yesterday in the press conference, we will be weighing up the risks this afternoon with more detail on that forecast. I don't envisage a cancellation of the total fire bans of the fireworks because of the total fire bans. But what we will be doing is working with local fire and rescue, the authorities, and just making sure that any perceived risks based on the conditions are ameliorated appropriately to ensure they can go ahead safely.
At what stage would you have to make a call that it is too risky and then would have to cancel?
Oh, look, we'll be doing that when we get the firmed up weather outlook this afternoon. We'll be doing that probably mid-afternoon once we get the details through from the Bureau of Meteorology. But basically, I am confident that unless something untoward comes out of the forecast, that we will be going ahead with the exemption and we'll be stipulating a range of conditions that need to be put into effect to ensure that we've got the confidence that it will go ahead safely. The fire services work together on these things, the local authorities, the City of Sydney, the pyrotechnics companies. We are very familiar with the processes around consideration of exemptions, and I've got to tell you, not all of them will be exempt, and as a matter of fact, many of them have already been cancelled through their own initiative, and of course there's plenty around rural and regional areas where the risk is very different, and therefore you can't ameliorate that risk to a point where you consider it safe. So we won't grant the exemptions for some total fire ban activity, for some firework activities in total fire bans.
And what factors are taken into consideration to be able to grant an exemption for fireworks, even under a total fire ban?
Oh, there's a whole manner of things that are considered. A, the prevailing weather conditions at the time of the scheduled activities. Two, if there is something, where might any material land? What sort of effect would it be taken? Is it going to go into water areas? Is it going to go into built-up areas? Is it going to go into open, dry bushland areas? They're the sorts of things that are weighed up in terms of the risk. And then we also look at are there fire brigades in attendance? Are local fire stations, fire trucks, fire crews in attendance in places like the harbour? Are there marine vessels in place that can help in the event of those? So all sorts of things about A, the risk, what is it in terms of the weather conditions, and B, what sort of resources or what sort of arrangements have been put into effect to ameliorate that risk should something go wrong.
Commissioner, in terms of the bushfire threat, which areas are of most concern heading into the new year?
So we've still got 99 fires across New South Wales, Danica, and 40 of those are not contained. We've got these very large complex fires north of the Blue Mountains region, northwest of Sydney, that are effectively stretching from the western areas of the Central Coast, Blue Mountains, all the way up through the Hunter Valley towards places like Singleton and Muswellbrook, and out as far as Capertee and Rylstone. We've got the other fire southwest of Sydney, burning through the catchment south of the Blue Mountains. That's effectively burning from Picton and Mittagong all the way out through to the west towards Jenolan Caves and back up into the Blue Mountains at the back end of Megalong Valley and Katoomba. We've got this other large complex on the south coast which stretches from Bateman's Bay all the way up to Nowra and out west towards places like Nerriga. And then unfortunately over the last couple of nights we've seen a lot of instability, a lot of thunderstorm activity and dry lightning causing multiple new fires, new ignitions right down through southeastern New South Wales, everywhere from places like Tumut, Adelong, out towards closer to Albury sort of area on the southern border there, and all the way down through the high country and towards Bega. So we've got a lot of areas that are going to be a particular focus as we head into the hotter conditions today and even worse conditions tomorrow. Temperatures up into the low to mid 40s today, very dry air coming from the centre of New South Wales, a westerly pattern that's starting to build, and then that'll push right through tomorrow with hot, dry, windy conditions resulting in more total fire bans we expect tomorrow.
A lot of people travelling during this New Year period. What would be your advice to those who are planning to drive through these areas?
Danica, that's a really important point, and we always talk about the bushfire survival plan for being at home and being with your property, but the principles equally apply should you be travelling, whether you're out visiting loved ones for the Christmas New Year break or whether you're just getting away to spend time with family somewhere in New South Wales. Having a bushfire survival plan that's relevant to where you are and what you're doing, obviously staying alert and staying attuned to the conditions. Don't travel unless you need to, but assess your level of risk. Where are you? What is the risk? What is the exposure? If something happens, how do you enact that survival plan? What will you do? Where will you go? What are the options? Is it one road in, one road out? Are there alternates? It is really important to give thought to that bushfire survival plan, and most importantly, have a conversation with your family and loved ones and know what it is you're going to do in the event that fire threatens, because the risk is real. We've seen the consequences, the deadly consequences, the damaging consequences of fire so far this season, and we've got hot, dry conditions still ahead of us because there's no meaningful reprieve for rain. So avoid travel if you don't need to go, but most importantly, have that survival plan, have that conversation, and know how you're going to act in the event that you are threatened.
RFS Commissioner Shane Fitzsimmons, appreciate your time. Thank you for joining me this morning.
Thanks, Danica.